Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? It's Proclaim the greatest radio show. Welcome, fans, to another episode of The Spread. This is your guest host, Big Easy, in studio with our senior baseball analyst, Jay Dash. We broke down the AL West for you this week. We talked about Oakland, the Angels, the Texas Rangers, and the sorry Seattle Mariners.
Not feeling them, huh?
Not feeling them. We're going to finish it off here and give you all you need to know about the Houston Astros. Big year they had last year. Wild card. I mean, the turnaround after they left the NL Central and went to the American League has been nothing short but stellar.
Yeah, thank the Lord they are not still in the Pirates division. Huh?
Yeah, I think that to myself when I brush my teeth in the morning.
But this team, they are looking good. They're a very young team, and they've added to it this offseason. And a couple of re-signings they made. Outfielder Colby Rasmus, it looks like he may still start out there, either him or Jake Marisnick. They also re-signed relief pitcher Tony Sipp. He's been a big part of their bullpen the past couple seasons. A couple signings. They signed Doug Fister, starting pitcher. They did lose Scott Kazmir to free agency, but going out and signing Doug Fister, a guy that didn't have necessarily the best season last year for the Washington Nationals, but has been a good pitcher over the years with Detroit, and they're hoping he can bounce back and have a good season. They signed relief pitcher Neil Kotz to a minor league deal and starting pitcher Wandy Rodriguez, your boy, to a minor league deal as well. I highly doubt he makes it to this team, but this is his old team. This is the team he came up with.
Right. And this ain't no Tory Hunter situation where you're going back to your team to shine in your career. Wandy, you might as well hang him up because you're busted.
Well,
you know what I think
I'd have
about?
to say now he is busted.
Let me do one thing. Because I see the freaking, because I can see, when I think of Wandy Rodriguez, I can see the tumbleweeds going through the pasture there in Texas.
Well, one other signing, Cuban pitcher Carlos Sierra.
All right, Cuba, we've broke open relations with Cuba. Now the baseball world's shining.
But Carlos Sierra, he's not considered a major signing around baseball, so we'll have to see how he works out. A couple trades. They traded for Brendan McCurry with Oakland. Actually gave up Jed Lowry for him, so I think that is a loss. But, I mean, they didn't have any room for Lowry, I guess. That I could have considered him at third base this season, but I think they're going to be moving on. They have some talent in the minor leagues, and it was just time for Lowry to go. But the big trade, Ken Giles, bringing in a top young closer. However, they gave up a ton for him. Vincent Velasquez, a guy I like a lot. I thought he was going to be a piece of this rotation for a long time. Brett Oberholzer, a guy that JK47 likes. He's more of a 4 or 5. And they gave up Mark Appel. You know Mark Appel, the guy that the Pittsburgh Pirates drafted. He said he didn't want to play for him, went into the draft the next season, and got drafted by the Houston Astros. And really, he hasn't pitched well in the minors. I mean, he pitched okay at points, but he isn't the dominant guy everybody thought he would be. So he goes over to Philly and hopes he can turn his career around there. But Ken Giles at the back end of this bullpen, I think that's what they were missing last season, was that beast closer, and I think they have him in Ken Giles. A couple of losses they have. They lost some relief pitching. Oliver Perez, Chad Qualls, and Joe Thatcher to free agency. But like I said, you bring over Ken Giles, that's an immediate addition there. I wouldn't worry about these other guys so much. Although, I mean, Qualls and Perez have pitched pretty well for him. I already mentioned Scott Kazmir. They replaced him with Doug Fister. They lost Jonathan Villar in a trade with Milwaukee, a young shortstop. Still, I think this guy has some problems in his swing, and he may never turn into what they hoped, what we've seen out of him when he was in Houston's minor league system. And they lost outfielder L.J. Hose in a trade with Baltimore. Not a big deal there. I don't even know why I mention it. L.J. Hose was never a big part of their future anyways. But one other thing I want to mention here, I guess as a loss, is Evan Gattis is out with hernia surgery right now. He's going to miss most of spring training. They're hoping he can come back for the start of the season. Maybe he misses the first week or so. But he should be back early enough, and hopefully he can stay healthy and make a big impact because Gattis was a beast last year. he had 27 home runs, although he only did hit 246 with a 285 on base. But 26 home runs out of your DH isn't bad at all. But you take a look at this outfield, you got Colby Rasmus or Jake Marisnick in left field. We'll have to see if Marisnick can take the next step up, or even Preston Tucker. That's another guy I should mention that could take the job. This guy had 13 home runs last season and 300 at-bats in his first taste of big league action. He needs to improve his average, improve his on-base percentage a little bit, but you can see the upside in him. So one of those guys, I don't know who. Colby Rasmus, I mean, he's not a terrible player either. He has some power in him. He hit 25 home runs last season, but this is a guy that's always going to have a low average. I think he hit under 240 last season, had a 314 on base. So he does take a little bit of walks at least, but I'm not guaranteed that he's going to stick in the outfield all season long if his struggles pop up and if he doesn't show that power that he has. And Jake Marisnick, a young guy that was in Miami Marlins system, he has a lot of upside as well, and he really needs to take the next step. So we'll have to see what happens here in the outfield. But you got Carlos Gomez, a guy you brought over from Milwaukee at the deadline last season, and this was one of the bigger deals at the deadline. Unfortunately, he did not play very well at all. He just did not hit good for him. But he's a great center fielder, and I mean, he has to get back to those numbers. He's a guy that can do a 30-30 season for you.
Maybe he just was uncomfortable with the whole trade in the middle of the season.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I expect Carlos Gomez to have a big bounce back season here.
Yeah, me too.
And George Springer in right field, still a young guy, obviously. And this is a guy, he strikes out too much. He takes some walks, but he has big power and he has good speed as well. So he's another guy that could possibly give you a 30-30 season. I don't know if he will do that consistently or not, but you have a lot of power and speed here in the outfield. So it looks pretty good to me. But the one thing about these guys is you may not see too high of an average. I mean, Gomez could step up and have a good average, but I see a lower average out of this outfield.
Generally, all three of them.
Right. And then you look on the infield. I don't know. Well, first of all, let's take a look at shortstop and second base. That's guaranteed. You have probably the best second baseman in baseball in Jose Altuve. This guy's a beast. He had 15 home runs actually last season, improved his power a little bit, but he's always hitting over 300. In fact, I think he won a batting title 2 years ago. He has speed, stole 38 bases last season, stole over 40 the season before. So I think he won a Gold Glove last season as well. Jose Altuve is a beast. I'm a little bit biased towards it because he's my second baseman. I picked him up when he was in the minor leagues, and I have him in fantasy, and he is a beast. I don't know. People still say maybe Robinson Cano. I say Jose Altuve, the best in the league, and Carlos Correa looks like he is going to be the next Alex Rodriguez. I don't know if he's doing steroids right now or not, but Carlos Correa, in his first taste of the big leagues last year, had 387 at-bats, 22 home runs, 14 stolen bases, hit 279 with a 345 on base. This guy's a monster. Best middle infield in baseball. Now, on the corners, I really don't know what they're going to do. You have Luis Valbuena, who can play third base. He can play first base. He has a power, but he also hits like 110.
Yeah.
So that's a problem there. You have John Singleton, who is a young prospect and has big power, but again, strikes out way too much. His average is just terrible. He really hasn't shown it. He hit 191 and 47 at-bats last season. I don't really trust this guy. I don't think he is going to be the answer at first base. Like I said, Valbuena could play third or first. There's Matt Duffy, a guy that's 27 years old. In the minor leagues, he's had double-digit home runs over the past 4 years. He hits for average. He has a high on-base percentage, but he's 27 years old, so he was a little bit older than everybody else. I don't know if he's going to be the answer at third base. They have Colin Moran in the minor leagues. This was Miami's first-round pick in 2013. He hasn't hit lower than 294 or with a 342 on base at any level through Double-A. He has excellent plate discipline and awareness, but just 20 home runs and 993 at-bats. Matt Duffy has the power, but I think Colin Moran might be the better hitter. And Moran showed a little bit more power last season, 9 home runs and 366 at-bats. So maybe he's still grown a little bit. I think Moran is the future third baseman there, but I think they also want a little bit more power out of the position. So Duffy may get a shot there. I don't know. And then at first base, I mean, you have all these options. John Singleton, Matt Duffy can play first base as well. Luis Valbuena, Marwin Gonzalez, a guy that started off as a shortstop. He's still pretty young, but he showed a little bit of pop last season, 12 home runs.
That's a stretch him playing first base, though, ain't it?
I mean, he could play third, he could play short, he could play second. He's a utility infielder, pretty much. He can play any position on the infield.
He's Houston Serpico.
But, yeah, I don't think he'll be playing first base either. I don't know who they're going to start the season with.
They think they can afford Pedro.
Well, look, man, here's why they don't worry about it, really, because they have the top first base prospect in baseball, according to a lot of people this season. He actually went ahead of Josh Bell, and his name is A.J. Reed. And I just heard the coach say that he has a chance to break camp as the starting first baseman. A.J. Reed, a .340 average with a .432 on base last season between A Advanced and Double-A, 34 jacks, 86 walks compared to 122 Ks and 523 at-bats. And he came in overweight for that season as well. And
Big Reed.
They said he is in much better condition this year. He's still very young, 22. He's a big lefty, 6'4", 275 pounds.
Oh,
this guy's a monster, man. And I'm trying to actually draft him in the first round of my Dynasty League
Dynasty
draft.
sleeper.
Yes. And, I mean,
Big Reed.
That is going to be a huge addition. If Colin Moran can step up and be a good third baseman and A.J. Reed step up and be the first baseman we see here in the minor leagues, how he's hitting, I mean, this team is going to be monstrous. And I think that is what's going to happen. Maybe not Colin Moran this season. I don't know. Maybe they go Duffy or stick with Valbuena, maybe even Marvin Gonzalez. But once Reed comes up, man, I think this offense is going to look beast. And Evan Gattis, once he's healthy at DH, I mean, like I said, he has the big power. Jason Castro isn't a terrible catcher either. He's at least league average, maybe even a little bit above league average. So I like what they have going on here. And they also have one of my favorite prospects in baseball. He's a second baseman / outfielder. They just moved him to center field last season. Tony Kemp, he's 24 years old. He's the opposite of A.J. Reed. He's 5'6", 165 pounds. Look,
so they got Altuve, and now they're like, okay, we'll take his other little midget.
Well, they compare him to Altuve all the time pretty much. And, I mean, his numbers compared to Altuve in the minor leagues are not very different. He hit .358 with a .457 on base, 15 stolen bases, and 193 at-bats in Double-A last season. Got called up to Triple-A. Now, he wasn't a beast, but he still hit .273 with a .334 on base, had 20 stolen bases and 271 at-bats. But if you look, a .304 batting average, a .393 on base, 169 walks compared to 179 Ks, and 1,267 at-bats. Hardly ever strikes out, takes a ton of walks. But here's the thing. The same thing I was saying before. This guy, he has a little bit of trouble with the pop. He doesn't really have the extra base hit. It's single. So you may see his walk rate come down when he comes to the bigs because there's no reason not to challenge him at the plate. You know what I mean?
Oh, some dude that's 5'6" at the plate, he's going to get challenged every at-bat.
That's what I'm saying. So you may see those walks come down. But he has just 57 doubles, 15 triples, and 13 home runs in his minor league career over those 1,267 at-bats. So he really got to find some way to get the ball into those gaps at least.
Did you say he was your favorite prospect?
One of my favorite prospects.
Some little dude. Why?
Because he's just a good player, man. Look at this. He has over a 400 on base, over a 300 average in the minors.
Well, you're going by these, but you can't hit more than singles. He just looks like
I think he made
singles and run around.
That's my big question on him. He's not a top prospect or anything, but first of all, he played excellent second place, and he plays excellent center field. There was highlight reel with this guy playing center field last season. Some of these amazing plays he made, man. He's just a scrappy player. They compare him to Altuve. If you'd have asked me back then, oh, why? You like this Altuve dude? He's this short. He's this weight. You know what I mean? I'd be like, yeah, you can hit. You know what I mean? Right. I see it in Tony Kemp as well. But like Altuve, he got to add a little bit of pop in his game as well. Mm. They have other guys, too. Tyler White, 25 years old. He could be playing first base or third base for him. He can catch as well. He does nothing but hits either. 362 with a 467 on base and 213 at bats in AAA last year. Had 7 home runs as well. He's also a 311 career hitter in the minors with a .422 on base, has 29 home runs over the last 2 seasons, has 174 walks compared to 164 Ks in 1,031 minor league at-bats. Like I said, he's a little bit older, so he has a little bit of a leg up on the competition, but he does nothing but hit and get on base as well. So you may see this guy mixed in there. Nolan Fontana is another guy. He gets on base a ton, but his average is a little bit lower. He has very little power as well. He can steal a couple bases, but he's not a very good base runner. 11 stolen bases, 19 caught stealing over the last 2 seasons. So I think they just have so many options here that maybe Fontana is just the odd man out. But I like all the options they have. I like what they have in the middle infield. I like what they have in their outfield. I don't mind the catcher. I like the power of DH. Everything looks great offensively to me, and it's only going to get better when A.J. Reed comes up. And Tony Kemp, my boy, when he comes up, Colin Moran even possibly, like I was saying. So many options here.
Who's a better baseball player, Evan Gattis or Pedro Alvarez?
I don't know, man. It's hard to say.
Can they afford
Probably Pedro Alvarez because he just gets on base more and he has the big power.
Can they afford Pedro, Houston?
Oh, yeah. They could afford Pedro for sure.
There you go. That's where he's going.
It would be a nice spot for him, I tell you that.
That's where he's going.
Big bat for this team.
Gaddis
can play in the outfield and first base as well.
Is there anything saying that Pedro's done forever at third base?
No. You can give him a shot there. Definitely now's the time if you want to do it, too.
I'll tell you what, Houston needs to sign Pedro. When is Pedro going to – just quick off topic, but will Pedro be signed by the end of the month?
Well, you can get signed during the season or whatever, but, Pedro, don't you want to get in somewhere?
Is he sweating right now? Is he sitting somewhere sweating?
There has to be somebody talking to him about a deal somewhere, right?
Why aren't we hearing nothing?
Pedro,
that's off topic, but when I see this lineup on paper, it's missing
the corner infielder.
It's missing
right
a corner. It's missing corner pop.
Yeah,
that's it.
The pop's
for,
there,
World
but
Series.
if compared to Pedro Alvarez, Valbuena is not as good of a hitter. You know what I mean? Neither is John Singleton. They have pop, but they're worse hitters than even Pedro. You know what I mean?
This looks like a World Series caliber baseball team to me this year.
Offensively, yes, and then you look at the rotation. Dallas Keuchel was a pure ace. This is one of the best pitchers in baseball. Colin McHugh. Colin McHugh. They want to be. He has to have a better season than he had last year, but he still has number 3 upside at least. Lance McCullers to me is a number 2. I would say that was a rookie last season. That was the guy that wore the Batman shoes. You remember him?
Yeah.
So I like their 1, 2, and 3. They brought in Doug Fister to be number 4. That's a very good number 4. He can give you number 2 upside as well.
No doubt.
And then Mike Fiers can give you as high as number 2 when he's perfectly on his game. I'd trust him more as a number 3 as well, maybe even a number 4. But, that's depth right there. Scott Feldman can even fill in as a number 5. So what they have in the rotation I really like, and that's not even the half of it, dude. Their minor league system is so stacked. They have starting pitchers in the minor leagues. One of them, Michael Feliz, is probably going to pitch in the bullpen this season. He got lit up in 5 appearances in the bullpen last season for him. But in the minor leagues, between A Advanced and AA last year, he had a .283 ERA, had 103 Ks in 111.1 innings pitched, just 32 walks and 82 hits. This guy could be a starter. I don't know if he has room to be in this rotation at this point. They'll probably put him in the bullpen. But then you have Francis Martes. You may see him in 2017 because there's no room. But he had a .204 ERA last season between A Advanced and AA in 101.2 innings, 98 Ks compared to 28 walks. Allowed just 5 home runs in 196 career minor league innings. Yeah, this guy looks good. Joe Musgrove. Listen to these numbers, man. Last season, he's 23, 6'5", 255 pounds. So this dude's a monster to begin with. A 188 ERA and 100.2 innings pitched. He had 99 strikeouts compared to 8 walks between A Advanced and AA. He spent his first 3 seasons in rookie ball and then his 4th in A short, and then last year just completely blew up. So they have options here. And I want to see all 3 of these guys this year, but maybe they're all 2017. I'd expect to see at least one of these guys at some point this year. But they have another guy, too. His name's David Paulino. He's 6'7". He has a high strikeout rate, excellent control, keeps the walks down. This guy looks like he's going to be a monster, too. But I'm going to say he is definitely not going to come up this season because they just have so much in front of them. And then they have a top prospect shortstop as well who can they actually say he may not stay at shortstop. Alex Bregman, he's in A advance right now, was just drafted last year, but you don't want him to stay at shortstop. I mean, you have Carlos Correa, one of the best shortstops in baseball. This guy, they said, can catch actually as well. If they can move this guy to catcher, I mean, he looks like he's going to be a very good hitter. He has a very high floor, maybe a lower ceiling than some of these guys in the minors, but it's a pretty good chance he's going to be a good ball player. So if they could move him to catcher or third base, they have so much depth in the majors, in the minors. I think Houston's going to be very good for a long time. And then, like I said, their bullpen is much better this season just because of the addition of Ken Giles at the back end. You still have Luke Gregerson, Tony Sipp, Will Harris, Josh Fields, Pat Neshek, Michael Feliz, like I was saying. I expect him to step up and be a good pitcher this year. Dan Straley. Wandy Rodriguez could pitch out of the bullpen. You never know. Neil Kotz they brought over.
I know.
Yeah, you know.
He won't.
Long relief. Can't take him in long relief.
No, we're not taking him anywhere.
Screw Wandy Rodriguez. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just see depth and more depth in the majors, in the minors. Houston knows exactly what they're doing.
Well, they don't know exactly what they're doing. They've had a couple, like 2 decades, a decade or so of torment has led to, a little
money had to do with it, and then they
upside.
signed that big TV contract, man, and that just changed things for them because now they have more money to spend as well. You lose, and now you get more money. You were getting all those top prospects. You're getting high draft picks, you know what I mean? And now you have money to sign players, too, like a Dallas Keuchel. You extend him, you know what I mean? You can bring in a Doug Fister, stuff like that. So Carlos Gomez, you can bring him in at the deadline now.
You need to bring in Pedro Alvarez.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a good addition. They just have so much depth, man. It would be hard to find playing time for them. So I'm going to say I think it's easy for me to say this team is going to finish in first place this season. Although anything can happen in baseball. Don't get me wrong.
Anything can happen, and that's why I love it because the Yankees don't win the World Series every year.
Please believe.
Spread sweep. Not only are they going to win the division, but I think they're going to push for a World Series title this year.
Yeah,
they're young. They're young. They have nothing to lose. They kind of remind me of Pittsburgh in the way that, they had their little playoff taste last year. Now they don't. They want it again, and they can have it. They won't be in the wild card game, possibly hosting.
And look, man, you call up A.J. Reed, you have your beast first baseman. Let's say he turns out. I mean, you always got to produce first before you just say he's a beast, but he looks like he's going to be a beast. And then look at all these prospects in the minors. You have so much in the major league system. If anything happens, if you need a third baseman at the deadline, if Altuve would happen to go down, you can trade any of the – well, if Altuve went down, I'd expect them to call up Tony Kemp and give him a shot. But – you have so much here in the minors that you could just trade and bring in stuff at the deadline and just bolster this team even more.
Which makes those players valuable pieces.
Very much.
Even if some of this main core don't get hurt or even stay healthy, who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you get into busting up teams and chemistry and all that BS. But hey, I don't care. You bring in that dude from Chicago. What was his name? Major League, the guy from Chicago, they bring in.
Oh yeah, I don't remember
Jackman
his name
or something like that.
I like the part in the movie when Charlie Sheen's pitching to him, and he's like, "I'm working on a new pitch. You hit it, you name it." And he's like, he hits a home run on it, and he's like, "The masturbator," because Charlie Sheen was calling everything like the Eliminator and the Terminator. Mm-hmm. He's like the masturbator.
I mean, you could be a douche, but if you hit the baseball, I'm signing you.
So that's it, man. First place, Houston Astros. I think Texas will give them a run for their money. And who knows? The Angels could. The Mariners could. I just don't think the A's could.
Well, real quick, if you listen to all of our breakdown of the AL West, and this is how we break it down. Houston in first place. And it was a little bit different between me and you, but I had Houston, Texas.
I did too.
I had the Angels at third.
Me too.
And then I put Oakland at fourth and Seattle last.
Yeah, I flipped the last two.
That's where we differ.
I'm not feeling Oakland. You're not feeling Seattle?
No.
Screw them both. Houston.
That's it. Houston fans, Texas Ranger fans, if you want to comment about you being the second best baseball team in your state, you can. You can hit us up at
At bet_the_spread. If you want to hit Jim up, hit him up at betjim2win. That's Jim to win with the number 2. If you're listening on another website, you can check us out at youtube.com/betthespread, and you can hit us up and subscribe or like us, whatever you do on Facebook. I hate Facebook. It is facebook.com/betthespread. That is Jim's department. I stay away from it. Next, we are going to be moving on to the NL. We were probably going to start with the NL East, I would say, and then move on to the NL Central, although we may save the NL Central for last.
And generally, fans from our area here are paying more attention to the National League just because that's where that's what we rep. We rep the National League here. And although the American League does look exciting this year.
Yes, all but one team, the Oakland A's. 14 out of 15 teams have a chance, I say.
Sorry, Billy. We're out.